Let me tell you something women rarely admit out loud. When a man stops reaching out, we notice immediately. And what happens next in our minds is something most men have no idea about. There's a process we go through, a series of shifts in how we think about you, how we feel about the situation, and ultimately what we decide to do next. If you're going through this right now, if you've pulled back and you're sitting there questioning whether it's working or if she's already forgotten you, I want you to understand what's actually happening on her side, because it's probably not what you think. Women go through 5 distinct psychological stages when a man we were interested in suddenly goes quiet. In these stages, they're predictable. Almost every woman moves through them in the same order. The question isn't whether she'll experience them. The question is whether you'll understand them well enough to handle each phase correctly. Today, I'm going to walk you inside a woman's mind during this process. You'll know exactly what she's thinking at each stage, why she's thinking it, and what moves will either bring her closer or push her away permanently. This isn't theory, this is what actually happens. Now, before I go any further, I want to be clear about something. This isn't about manipulation, it's not about playing games or trying to trick anyone. What I'm sharing with you is simply how the female mind processes sudden silence from a man she was interested in. Understanding this doesn't make you manipulative, it makes you informed. And there's a big difference between using knowledge to hurt someone and using knowledge to make better decisions for yourself. The reason I'm sharing this is because I've seen too many good men destroy their chances simply because they didn't understand what was happening on the other side. They panicked, they made assumptions, they acted on fear instead of clarity. So let's change that. Here's what most men don't understand about attraction. When a woman starts pulling back, responding slower, seeming less interested, creating distance, most men's instinct is to close that gap. They reach out more, they try harder, they send another message to check in, and every single time they do that, they're making things worse. Why? Because attraction doesn't work on logic, it works on emotion, and one of the most powerful emotional triggers is uncertainty. When you're always available, always reaching out, always trying to close the distance, you remove uncertainty, you become predictable. And predictable is the opposite of exciting. But here's what happens when you stop contacting her. You create space, and in that space her mind starts working. She has to wonder, she has to think about you. She has to sit with the question of why you're not reaching out anymore. That uncertainty, that wondering is where attraction grows. Not in your messages, not in your explanations, in the silence. The problem is, most men can't handle that silence themselves. They project their own anxiety onto her, they assume she's forgotten them, they assume she's moved on, and that fear drives them to break the silence too early, which resets everything back to zero. So how do you avoid that trap? By understanding exactly what she's experiencing on the other side of your silence, and that's what I'm about to show you. There are 5 stages a woman goes through when you stop contacting her. Stage 1 is confusion, Stage 2 is testing, Stage 3 is reflection, Stage 4 is longing, and Stage 5 is decision. Each stage has its own psychology, its own timeline, and its own signals you need to watch for. And more importantly, each stage has specific things you should do and things you absolutely should not do if you want to come out of this with her more interested than before. Let's start with Stage 1. Stage 1 is confusion. This typically happens in the first 1 to 3 days after you stop reaching out. Here's what's going on in her mind. She's used to a certain pattern with you. Maybe you texted every morning. Maybe you were the one who always initiated plans. Maybe you were always quick to respond when she reached out. Whatever that pattern was, she got comfortable with it. She knew what to expect from you. And now that pattern has broken. At first, she might not even notice. A day goes by and she's busy with her own life, but then something shifts. She picks up her phone expecting to see your name and it's not there. She scrolls through her notifications looking for a message from you. Nothing. That's when the confusion sets in. She starts rationalizing. Maybe he's busy with work. Maybe he's having a rough day. Maybe he'll text later tonight. Her brain is trying to restore the pattern she was used to. It's looking for explanations that keep things normal. And when the message still doesn't come, a small alarm goes off in her subconscious. Something feels different. Now here's the key. During this phase, she's not panicking yet. She's just noticing. The absence has created a question mark in her mind that wasn't there before. And that question mark? It's the beginning of everything that comes next. What should you do during this phase? Absolutely nothing. I know that sounds difficult. Your instinct might be to reach out just to keep the connection alive, but this is the hardest part for most men, and it's also the most important. If you break the silence during stage 1, you answer the question before she's had time to fully ask it. You remove the curiosity before it has a chance to build. Let her sit with that question mark. Let her notice your absence. Let the pattern disruption do its work, because what happens next when she moves into stage 2 is where things get really interesting. Stage 2 is testing. This usually kicks in around days 4 through 7, sometimes a bit earlier if she was highly invested. Here's what's happening. She's moved past confusion. The question mark in her mind has grown, and now she wants answers, but she doesn't want to ask directly. That would mean admitting she noticed your absence. That would mean showing her cards. So instead, she tests. What does testing look like? It's subtle. She might send you a random message that seems unrelated, a meme, a link to something, a quick question about something trivial. She might view your social media stories repeatedly. She might accidentally like an old post. She might reach out through a mutual friend or mention you to someone she knows will report back. These are breadcrumbs. She's throwing them out to see if you'll pick them up. She wants to gauge where you stand without having to directly ask. And this is where most men fail the test without even realizing there was a test happening. Here's how they fail. They see her name pop up and they get excited. Finally, she's reaching out. So they respond immediately. They respond enthusiastically. They match her energy, or worse, they exceed it. And just like that, the power shifts back to her. The uncertainty she was feeling, gone. She has her answer. He's still there, still waiting, still available. Here's what you should do instead. Respond but slowly, match her energy, don't exceed it. If she sends something casual, send something casual back. If she asks a question, answer it briefly. Don't turn her breadcrumb into a full conversation. Don't use it as an opportunity to reconnect. Just acknowledge it, and then go quiet again. Why? Because passing this test is what moves her into stage 3. If you fail the test by over-responding, she goes back to feeling secure, and secure isn't what builds attraction. But if you pass it by staying calm, staying measured, staying slightly out of reach, that's when something shifts in how she sees you. Stage 3 is reflection. This is the turning point. It typically happens during the 2nd week, and this is where her perception of you fundamentally changes. Up until now, she's been focused on the situation, the silence, the absence, the uncertainty. But in stage 3, her focus shifts. She stops thinking about what's happening and starts thinking about you, who you are, what you meant to her, what she might be losing. Here's the psychology behind it. When something is always available, we take it for granted. We don't think about its value because we assume it will always be there. But when that thing becomes scarce, when it might actually be slipping away, suddenly we see it differently. Economists call this the scarcity principle, and it works just as powerfully in attraction as it does in markets. During this phase, she starts re-evaluating you. She thinks back to conversations you had. She remembers moments that felt good. She compares you to other men in her life, past and present. And here's what's fascinating. In her reflection, you often come out looking better than you did before. Why? Because she's no longer seeing you through the lens of daily interaction. She's seeing you through the lens of potential loss, and that changes everything. Remember that pattern disruption we talked about earlier? This is where it reaches its full effect. You broke the pattern. You didn't chase when she expected you to. You held your ground when most men would have crumbled. And now she's asking herself a question she probably wasn't asking before. What if I was wrong about him? If you've made it this far without breaking your silence, you've already done something most men never do. You've demonstrated something rare, the ability to hold your ground even when it's uncomfortable. And women notice that. They don't just notice it, they respect it deeply. What should you do during stage 3? Continue holding. This is not the time to reach out and check if it's working. The moment you do that, you undo all the progress. She's in the middle of reevaluating you. Let that process complete. The temptation will be strong. You'll start wondering if maybe you've waited too long. Maybe she's forgotten. Maybe you should just send something small to test the waters. Don't trust the process, because stage 4 is where everything you've built starts to pay off. Stage 4 is longing. This is where all the silence, all the patience, all the discipline you've shown starts to produce real results. It typically happens around weeks 3 and 4, and it's the most emotionally intense phase for her. Here's what's going on. The reflection phase has done its work. She's reevaluated you. She's remembered the good parts. And now something deeper kicks in. She starts to miss you. Not in a casual way, in a way that catches her off guard. This is when the nostalgia hits. She'll find herself thinking about specific moments you shared, a conversation that made her laugh, a time when you made her feel understood. These memories start playing on repeat in her mind, and they're filtered through something called idealization. She's not remembering you as you were, she's remembering the best version of you, the version that exists in moments she wishes she could have back. Loss aversion reaches its peak during this phase. The possibility of losing you, really losing you, becomes real to her. And that fear is a powerful motivator. What does longing look like from your end? She might reach out with something more meaningful than a breadcrumb. She might reference something personal between you. She might ask to see you. She might even be direct about missing you, though that's rarer. More often, she'll find reasons to initiate contact that give her plausible deniability. She wants to reconnect, but she doesn't want to seem like she's chasing. Here's where you need to be careful. After all this waiting, the temptation is to go all in. She's reaching out. She misses you. This is what you wanted. But if you suddenly become completely available again, if you match her intensity and flood back into her life, you risk undoing the dynamic that brought her back. Remember the test from stage 2? This is another test, a bigger one. How you respond to her longing determines whether this becomes something real or whether you slip back into the old pattern. Respond warmly, but don't overinvest. Show interest, but keep your own life full. Let her feel like she's earning her way back into your attention, because that's what makes the reconnection feel valuable to her. And then there's stage 5, the decision. Stage 5 is decision. This is where everything comes to a head. After the confusion, the testing, the reflection, and the longing, she arrives at a choice, and there are only 2 paths forward. Path 1, she comes back, she reaches out with clear intent, she wants to see you, she wants to reconnect. She might not say it directly, but her actions make it obvious she's choosing you. When this happens, it's not the same as before. The dynamic has shifted. You've demonstrated that you have a life beyond her. You've shown that you won't chase, and that changes how she sees you going forward. If she comes back, let her. But don't abandon everything you've built in these weeks. The man she's returning to is the man who held his ground, not the man who was waiting by the phone. Keep being that man. Keep your own interests, your own schedule, your own sense of self. That's what attracted her back. Losing it now would be the worst move you could make. Path 2. She doesn't come back. And I need to be honest with you, this happens. Not every woman will move through all 5 stages and end up at your door. Some will get to stage 3 or 4 and decide the connection isn't worth pursuing. Some will meet someone else during the process. Some simply weren't as invested as you thought. Here's what you need to understand about Path 2. It's not a failure. If she doesn't come back after genuine space and silence, it tells you something important. This wasn't going to work long-term anyway. You didn't lose her by going quiet. You revealed a truth that was already there. The silence just brought it to the surface faster than months of chasing would have. Now that you understand all 5 stages, confusion, testing, reflection, longing, decision, you have something most men never get: clarity. You know what's happening on her side, you know what to do at each phase, and most importantly, you know that your silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. But before we wrap up, there's one more thing I need to tell you, something that might be uncomfortable to hear, but it's the truth that separates men who understand women from men who keep repeating the same patterns. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If a woman doesn't come back after you've given her genuine space, after you've been patient, held your ground, and let her move through these stages, she was never really yours to begin with. I know that sounds harsh, but think about it. A woman who's genuinely interested, who sees real value in you, who felt a real connection, she won't let you slip away that easily. The silence might confuse her, test her, make her reflect, but if there was something real there, she'll find her way back. The ones who don't, they were either never that invested, or they were keeping you as an option while looking for something else. And here's the part most people won't tell you, that's actually the best possible outcome. Because now you know, you didn't waste months or years chasing someone who was never going to choose you. The silence accelerated the truth. It saved you time, energy, and emotional investment that would have been spent on someone who didn't deserve it. This is why the silence strategy isn't just about getting her back, it's about filtering. It separates women who are genuinely interested from women who are just enjoying the attention. It reveals who's willing to invest in you versus who expects you to do all the work. The men who understand this don't fear the outcome of silence. They welcome it, because either way, they win. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever gone silent on a woman and watched her come back? Or maybe you're in the middle of this right now, sitting in the silence, wondering what she's thinking. Drop a comment and tell me where you're at. I read every single comment, and I respond to as many as I can. This isn't just content to me, it's a conversation. And the more we share, the more we all learn. If this video helped you understand something you didn't before, consider subscribing. I put out content like this regularly because I believe every man deserves to understand how attraction actually works, not the fantasies, not the games, but the real psychology behind it. You now have what most men spend years figuring out through painful trial and error. Use it wisely. Don't chase, don't panic, and remember, your silence isn't emptiness, it's power, it's clarity, and it just might be the thing that changes everything.